Good evening, folks. This is Diamond from the Oppenheimer Ranch Project on Friday, November 24th at 11:22 p.m. Mountain Time, 2017, bringing you a grand solar minimum update. Looking towards December, we're experiencing Indian summer here in southwest Colorado for the week, but on Tuesday it's going to plummet 10 degrees. This article is coming out of Alabama, Tennessee area, and they're talking about the same thing. But this Arctic air blast is going to move in, and November will end on a slightly warm note relative to normal. The December begins with the same pattern, a zonal west to east flow across the lower 48, keeping bitterly cold air locked up to north for now. This lasts through December 5th, then things start changing. And this cold air is going to come all the way down here towards Florida. A deep trough in the jet stream over the eastern U.S. will develop after December 5th. And there's a good chance it stays around all the way through January. And that should make December one of the coldest Decembers in history for all you people basking in the global warming over there. Could there be snow? Well, here is the ECMWF, EPS Weekly Long Range Guidance. That's day 24 through 29. This is Christmas. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. It always snows here Christmas. Boom, right there. That's where I'm at. So the European guidance has been pretty hard-nosed in projecting two substantial cold waves in December. It's shown it is possibly almost every weekly update this month around the 11th and just before Christmas. So there's two major snow events. We're talking 1989 cold. But certainly could be one of the coldest Decembers in the decade, and I think they're being a light on that. It's a heads up. Guys, if you don't know about this guy Starman, the Starman, I'm going to leave you links to him. He only has 62 subs. Let's get his numbers up. He's got some good research on his channel. If you're really interested in the climate effects and what's happening during this grand solar minimum and how the Pacific Decadal Oscillation and the North Atlantic Oscillation is changing. He has some good visuals where you can watch him go through the data from 2010 versus today. And you can see how much colder this year is going to be, this winter. It is epic. I suggest you check out the Starman. On with the update. Be warned, more snow and ice on the way as polar air to keep Scotland freezing for the rest of the month. Brrr, Scotland. Bring on the ice age, says Robert Eldridge. Winter has well and truly arrived in Daviot near Inverness as a workman wheels his barrow through the snow. Look at that. Just like the olden days. Polar air will keep Scotland freezing for the rest of the month. You asked for it, Scotland. You got it. Which is already shaping up to be the coldest November ever. We're certainly not going to be seeing that in the headlines here in the U.S. Snow and ice affected large parts of the country yesterday, sparking a spate of crashes on the roads. While many will see some of the blue skies this weekend, forecasters say it is merely a brief respite before more wintry showers return on Monday. Good luck, Scotland. More about Scotland. Worst frost since 1977 caused extensive damage to Victorian crops in Australia. Hello, Australia. Isn't it summer there? I thought so. Frost, and this is not good for summer and crops. Grand solar minimum much. A late spring cold snap ripped through the west and central Victoria this month, causing extensive agricultural damage. The data is just coming in. Older farmers in the region says it was the worst since 1977. That's 40 years. I'll leave you links. We're going to be seeing more graphs like this. This is coming out of the sun. UK weather, snow, northern icy roads, temperatures plunge. Snow blankets the north and drivers warned of icy roads as temperatures plunge to -2 tonight. Boom. Cosmic ray flux much? Skagit River reaches major flood levels, highest since 2006. This is Washington. So they have record snows, record 300% snowpack. And then they just got hit with an atmospheric river of rain. And that river is peaking at 33.15. And this is only going to be the beginning of flooding in this region. Major flooding hits Montego Bay, causing severe infrastructural damage. Another atmospheric river in Jamaica. Major flooding hit Jamaica's Montego Bay, the capital of St. James Parish in the country's northwest, on Wednesday, November 22nd. Remember that date. The flooding brought traffic to a standstill. Look at this. Epic. I'll give that a minute. Montego Bay's mayor and chairman of the St. James Municipal Corporation, Councillor Homer Davis, said Thursday that a major emergency cleanup project is being taken across the city. Look at that down there. That is underwater, folks. And look at this river in the road here. This is pretty amazing. Do not drive there. Yeah, so that's what you do in Jamaica when it floods up to your knees. You party, you drink heavily, and you do crazy things. That's cosmic ray flux. We're going to be covering that in a moment. Let's start with cosmic ray flux to the north. So as our magnetosphere weakens and the sun is spotless, even the slightest solar wind is causing interesting new phenomenon. In the last 2 years, we've had the naming of Steve, which is a dark indigo blue auroral feature, which is more like a jet that goes out into space. And now, here coming from Southgate Amateur Radio News, which is very verifiable as far as space weather, because the ham radio operators operate on those frequencies. Does solar minimum turn auroras pink? Skywatchers around the Arctic Circle are starting to wonder. For the second winter in a row, unusual pink lights have exploded in the night sky when the sun is blank. This is aurora with no geomagnetic storm. And we are going into the grand solar minimum, which we've been warned about times like this in the past from the ancients. If you know anything about the electric universe and Anthony Peratt and plasma physics, you'll know that the unexplained petroglyphs worldwide are actually plasma discharge features, which have been created in a lab in the last decade. And we're going to begin to see those again in the sky. And this is the beginning. For the second winter in a row, unusual pink lights have exploded in the night sky when the sun is blank. No sunspots. Now, NOAA's forecasters say there's a 50% chance of G1 geomagnetic storms hitting Sunday into Monday, when a narrow stream of solar wind is expected to engulf the Earth, and we'll be watching that. But this came out the other day. These are the auroral shots from real-time Aurora Gallery. Amazing. This is the pink Arctic coming down south to the States in a few years. Heads up, seismic update. Guys, I'm sure you know there was a 4.7 earthquake that hit the Pacific off of Oregon. No one probably felt it. But with the uptick in seismicity and this quake going off, it's a heads up in the Cascadia area. That could be foreshocks. Everyone's getting their panties in a wedge about the big one out there in Cali. This coming out from the mainstream, thankfully, because everyone in Texas claims that, well, we've been fracking here for decades. Yeah, well, you have the most money by the crony capitalists to shut up any scientific evidence that would suggest otherwise. But the tides are turning. Sexual harassment is turning. Guys, this is the Enlightenment. This is the Vedas. The Vedic texts have talked about this period. The empire model will collapse. We will all become nice again. We will learn to live in harmony. And the truth is, the oil and gas industry is causing Texas earthquakes. And it's not a landmark study. As a geologist, we've known this for decades. The ones who work for the industry claim that it doesn't cause it, and the ones who have nothing to gain tell you the truth. That injecting tens of thousands of gallons of toxic waste into the subsurface causes earthquakes. Duh. I'll leave you links to that. You can read it. Let's go to the cosmic ray flux. We've been on a 3 to 5% increase over the last 3 days. Now, what I'm going to suggest to you is that it's not over. This is still peaking. This cosmic ray increase over the last 3 days after a drop has been peaking, and we've seen a super increase in volcanic activity. And if this continues to rise, and we don't get any over the next 2 days, look for a big quake in the next 48 hours. Heads up, cosmic ray flux. Volcanic update, talking about that cosmic ray flux. Look at the last 24 hours. We have Sinabung erupting, Reventador, Popocatépetl, Copahu, Sabancaya, Reventador, the Great Sitkin volcano. I'll leave you links to this. It is highly active because the cosmic ray flux. And there's a direct relationship to this increase in volcanic activity. So when you see a 3% cosmic ray flux increase in a 3-day period, you know what you're looking for. Volcanoes to go boom. And that's what we had today. Let's look at the seismic map, and then we'll finish this up. There's been some activity in the Turkey region here that's continuing to resonate. And the small aftershocks in Iran over here are causing more damage. Moderate earthquakes are happening at a slightly elevated level worldwide. Still, and we're still looking for a large quake in the New Zealand area. There was an interesting quake that ticked off in the U.S. in South Carolina at 2.5. And if we come and look, let's do a quick look at New Madrid. This may take a minute because I just did 7 days all magnitude. And you'll see that there's a moderate number of earthquakes in the Appalachians. So there's no uptick in New Madrid, nothing to worry about. But this uptick in seismicity here on the West Coast is a heads up. Especially the 4.7 off the coast of Oregon. Now, there's an interesting graph coming out of NOAA that I want to show you. Because NASA and NOAA have been obfuscating the truth for a very long time. We'll talk about earthquake risk and vulnerable nuclear reactors as we close. I'm trying to get this graph up here. Excellent. This is the parameter I put in here is snow cover for North America and Greenland for the month of October because the month is over. And what I want to show you is the graphic here, which no mainstream is picking up on. Since 1988, North American snow has been increasing at an epic rate. And now if you look at the last 4 years here, this is called blocking. This is a new level. This is a new standard mean. This green line can bump up to here for the grand solar minimum mean, which is 500,000 square kilometers more average. Look how high the last 4 years have been above the mean. 500,000 square kilometers. It's actually that's 750,000 square kilometers more on average in the last 4 years of snow in North America. Now they present the graph to you like this, so you can't really tell. See how I can move it? It starts to flatten out. Thanks, NASA. But if we just adjust it ourselves, it's very clear what's happening. That's a heads up there. Let's talk about the nuclear reactors. Earthquake risk keeps heat on vulnerable reactors. Yes, it does. If next year is going to be a record earthquake year, this is a stupid place to put radioactive material that can flow into the ocean and pollute all of our fisheries. Jeez. A proposal by California administrative law judge has given safe energy advocates new hope that 2 Diablo Canyon nuclear reactors will be shut before an earthquake on the San Andreas Fault turns them to rubble. How will they know when to shut them down? This is nonsense. You can read the article. Guys, if you don't know the truth about nuclear, we could have been working on thorium reactors since the 1960s. All nuclear reactors could be safe and produce no nuclear waste or very limited amounts. But we went against that design model to go with the plutonium model so that we could use the nuclear waste in bombs. If you don't know that, then you haven't been watching this channel. This is what the governments are doing by extracting your wealth, keeping you enslaved, making you work a 40-hour week, pay taxes, pay insurance, on and on. We could be living in harmony using thorium reactors with no or limited waste products, but instead the military-industrial complex has taken over the planet and wants to bomb everyone to high hell so they can extract the wealth out of every living human on the planet. Be safe, everyone.